what they're saying is actually true. Right?
Atheists are making a truth claim. Agnostics are making a truth claim.
I don't know about atheists are making a truth
Oh, come on!
They're making
An atheist is saying, I know the universe so well, I know there is no God. If that ain't a truth claim, I don't know what is.
No, well, then it depends on what your definition of an atheist is, right?
Just look it up. An atheist is someone who says, I know there is no God. An agnostic is someone who says, I'm not sure, I don't know. So if you're a hard atheist...
It's been now, like, the story of the Gospels is not new. If you look at mythology, there's plenty, like more than enough, the stories that look just like Jesus. And, I mean, it's not folklore, it's mythology, and it's not like someone just came up and did that. It's just tradition and knowledge that has been passed down by many cultures, not just by some random group of guys. The 12 apostles, there's many other characters in mythology that have 12 apostles also. So it's not like the story of Jesus. It's not. I mean, that he had exactly 12 apostles, that 3 magicians follow him. It's not just random numbers. It's being passed down. It's knowledge. It's not just. The Bible is just a blend of cultures, a blend of traditions that have been passed down that finally consolidated in the book. That's what I believe. How do you account for those many stories that happened way before Jesus Christ?
All right, but sir, just listen to what you're saying. What I've heard you say is, because Jesus had 12 apostles, and because another religious teacher has had 12 followers.
Not just 12 followers, just death and resurrection. Same, you know.
All right, good. Give me an example of someone who historically dies and historically rises from the dead. Give me another example other than Jesus.
Hercules. He went to Hades and brought back the dead and came from the world of the dead, just like Jesus went to hell and came back and resurrected. That's just like Jesus went to hell and came back.
Sir, Hercules is not an historical person.
It's a mythological one. That's what I said.
It's a mythological person.
Yes.
Hercules is not a human being who died and then rose from the dead.
How do you know that Jesus is a human being that died and rose from the dead? How did you differentiate Jesus from Hercules if your only source is the Bible? Just like Hercules, your sources are mythological texts.
Well, sir, what you're going to have to learn to do is you're going to have to look, and you better do it quickly because otherwise you will flunk literature courses. You're going to have to learn to tell the difference between mythology and historical narrative.
So the Bible is historical narrative?
Mark, Luke, absolutely.
Oh well, I don't know of any other historical book that talks about Jesus and that he died and resurrected aside from the Bible.
Well, then you need to read Antiquities by Josephus.
Can you tell me, Josephus? It's one. Tell me another.
Tacitus and Suetonius talk about followers of Christ.
Followers, not that he died and resurrected.
Oh yes.
They say that he died and resurrected.
The Jewish Mishnah has very hostile references to Jesus as being a false prophet. Very hostile references. So obviously Jesus was an historical person. He was not a mythological figure. Sir, if you can't tell the difference between mythology and historical narrative as literary genres, you will flunk your literature class.
I think you just flunk anthropology, sir, because the Bible it's categorized as mythological, just so you know.
Absolutely not.
Yes,
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are written with a literary style of historical narrative, meaning by that, at this time, in this place, with these people around, Jesus said this, he did that. It reads like the New York Times, the LA Times. It's reportage, eyewitness reportage. It's not once upon a time in the land of Nod, Wink and Blink and Nod took a boat ride. It's not once upon a time at all. It's at this time, in this place, during the rulership of Pontius Pilate, Tiberius Caesar, Herod. That's when it happened.
So, do you believe the Bible being a literal fact, just not a philosophical book? wisdom is supposed to be learned of, and just some random, well, not random, but like a historical book that you should read just like a textbook?
The Bible includes different literary styles. Obviously, the Psalms are poetry. Obviously, the book of Revelation is apocalyptic literature. Obviously, there's a lot of history, but when Jesus says, I'm the light of the world, it's not intellectually honest to say, oh, he's claiming to be a 100-watt light bulb. That's what it means to read the text literally.
Well,
no, you allow a writer and a speaker to use simile, metaphor, parable, allegory.
But that's what you're saying. You're saying that everything that's happened, like the 12 disciples can be just, how do you call it? Like an allegory for the 12 zodiac signs. I mean, you can't really just, like, what do you take for what is literal, and what is metaphor, what's allegory? Do you know? Like, I mean,
you better learn how to distinguish metaphor from what is factual. You better. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to make it through a literature class. You've got to learn to distinguish historical narrative from mythology, legend, romance literature. If you read Homer's Iliad and Odyssey and walk away saying, that's historical narrative, you're making a humongous mistake. Well, obviously, Homer's Iliad and Odyssey are epic poetry.
That existed in history. They have, just like Jesus, they tell you a place, a time, and certain people that appear there. Why can't it be compared to the Bible?
Well, obviously.
Well, you say obviously, but it's not obviously.
Obviously, Muhammad was an historical person who really lived, taught, fought, and died. No question about it. Obviously, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha is not a myth. Siddhartha Gautama Buddha is a man who really lived. Obviously, the historical evidence is that Jesus Christ really lived. Obviously, the Holocaust really occurred. But General Eisenhower made sure that after the Allied victory of World War II, he had journalists come from Europe, from England, and the United States to record Dachau, Auschwitz, and Buchenwald. Yeah. Because he did not want the lie to be spread that, oh no, those death camps never existed. That was just an Allied plot in propaganda.
Just comparing the Holocaust to this,
That's not what we're talking about, sir. We're talking about historical literature. Nailing down, did this really happen or did it not happen? And I can promise you, sir, the overwhelming evidence is Muhammad was not a myth. Muhammad is not Oedipus.
I'm not talking about Muhammad, I'm talking about Jesus.
I know, and the overwhelming historical evidence is Jesus is not a myth.
What is the historical evidence?
The historical evidence of the New Testament Gospels, of the writings of Josephus, Tacitus, Suetonius, the Jewish Mishnah, clearly points to Jesus. No, sir. The Jewish Mishnah was not part of the Bible.
No, I'm not talking
Josephus
about the Bible.
Was not part of the Bible. Tacitus and Suetonius were not part of the Bible.
There's many readings about other mythologies, other mythological figures, not just, if you know, like, mythology is a bunch of books about mythological people, not just one book.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So the Bible, I mean, there's other recordings about mythological people from the Bible in other readings.
What are you referring to?
I hot dog, come support the Philippines.
You say a lot of mythologies talk about an historical person? Sir, that's not mythology. Mythology is not claiming that this is historical.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, it's that you can't take into account, like, you say that mythological characters are mythological, but you're saying that Jesus is not mythological just because you believe that.
No!
That's a belief.
That is not what I said, sir.
Yes, you did.
You're not listening.
Just because you based yourself on the Bible.
Let me say it again. I'll say it again for you one more time. You and I, as thinking people, must learn to distinguish between the literary style, mythology, epic poem, poetry, scientific literature, and historical narrative.
Yeah.
You have a history department here at this fine university. You're paying a lot of money to study history. Yeah. Why? Because history is a legitimate form of knowledge.
And I've read the Bible, and it looks nothing like historical writings that I've read. It looks more like the Iliad or the Odyssey. I am sorry, sir. That's how it is.
That's intellectually dishonest. The Iliad and the
No,
Odyssey
it's not.
are epic poems.
Have you read the Iliad and the Odyssey?
I sure have.
Have you read
And
the
I've
Divine
studied the
Comedy?
Iliad and the Odyssey.
It
and
looks
the
a
literary
lot like the
style
Bible.
is epic poem. And if you don't believe me, just go to your literature professor
I think
and
you have
ask
a
him,
belief bias
what's the
here."
literary style of the Iliad and the Odyssey of Homer? It's obviously epic poem.
Well, it's not.
The
obvious
Gospels
to me.
are not epic poem. The Gospels are, at this time, in this place, with these
Also
individuals
epic
around.
poems.
Archaeology supports the place names listed in the Gospels. Archaeology supports Pontius Pilate, Herod Agrippa,
They
the
also
leaders
support
listed.
Troy. They also support Menelaus. They also support all of those, and they were in the Iliad. You can't just say that history supports Jesus and not say that history doesn't support the Iliad. Exactly. So I just want.
You bet. Have a great day. Take care.
Hey, I'm just curious. Do you think a good atheist goes to hell? Like a moral atheist goes to hell?
Fascinating question. Does a moral atheist go to hell? Well, if an atheist is a person who says there is no God, then obviously, because God respects their free will to not believe he exists, he's not going to force an atheist to spend eternity with him in heaven. In other words, hell is a statement that God respects the dignity of a person's choice. So if a person says, I'm going to live my life as if there is no God, God's not going to force him against his will to spend eternity with him in heaven. Does that make any sense?
But will he damn him to hell?
Well, what is hell? Hell is simply the result of a human choice. If I choose to live my life together with God, I'll spend eternity with God. If I choose to spend my life separate from God, I'll spend eternity separate from God, is what Jesus taught.
Okay. Sweet. That's it. Yeah.
Are you an atheist? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, why are you an atheist?
I don't know. I just can't get the concept of a supreme being across in my head. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, in terms of the question, what are you living for, or who are you living for, and what's the evidence that whatever it is you're living for is reliable? How do you think that went through?
I mean, I just live for myself. I know that might be selfish, but I just don't get how a God could exist, but that's...
Well, what's wrong with being selfish? I mean, you acted like that was there was disparaging selfishness. You know, you say you live for yourself, and I know that might sound selfish. Well, what's wrong with being selfish?
I guess not really. I mean, I don't think much, but I mean, I was just wondering if you thought atheists go to hell.
Right. Now, if I come up to this guy, and because I like his glasses, I'm selfish, and I steal his glasses for myself, do you have a problem with that, or is that cool?
Yeah, but that's kind of different.
Okay, well, how do you make an ethical decision? If there is no God, and if morality is relative, what's the basis of your ethical decisions? How do you live your life?
How my decisions affect other people.
Okay. And if you determine that your decision affects someone in an adverse way, you stay away from it?
Yeah.
Good. In fact, don't you hold to that so tightly that you really look into the face of a child abuser and say, that's really evil?
Yeah, totally.
Good. Okay, so when you look into the face of a child abuser and say, that's really evil, doesn't that tie you into justice as being a real value?
Yes.
Exactly.
I just don't see, I do that without a God. I don't need a God.
How can you do that without a God? How can you look into the face of the child abuser and say, that is really evil, when you know down deep that evil doesn't exist, morality is relative, because there is no God, it's all relative.
Wait, what's the question? I'm confused.
All right, if there is no God, morality is relative. Do we follow that logically? If there is no God, I write the rules, you write the rules, the child abuser writes the rules. It's all relative. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. So just chill out. Now, if you're looking into the face of a child abuser, as an atheist, don't you just chill out? Or do you say, that's really evil when you abuse that child?
Yeah,
Which one do you do?
the second one.
The second one. Okay, you see, when you look into the face of a child abuser and say, that is really evil, you're no longer being consistent with your moral relativism.
Yes, I am.
Okay, how? How are you being
I
consistent?
mean, I just have my own personal beliefs. He might have different beliefs, but
Good. So if your personal beliefs say that child abuse is wrong, but his personal beliefs say child abuse is right, where do you get off telling him that he's wrong? Shouldn't you instead say, from my perspective you're wrong, but from your perspective you're right? It's all relative.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Oh, I think you do know how to respond to that. I think you know that you have a problem in your worldview, don't you?
I still don't think I have a problem in my world.
Sure you do. If you tell me, Cliff, it's all relative, and I go up to this guy, smack him in the face, remember what you're saying. Cliff, from my perspective, to smack him is wrong. That's what you would say. But I'm saying, I'm sorry, guys with blue sweatshirts on deserve to be smacked. I'm not right, I'm not wrong. You're not right, you're not wrong. It's all relative.
So you just attribute that just I see what you're saying. It just doesn't make sense to me.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense?
I mean, I just don't get that to have a moral, like a solid moral, like compass. You need someone like or something, like a god to like dictate what that is. It's just,
Okay, who defines solid moral compass?
to you, it's God. To me, it's me.
Okay, now if in reality there is no God, then moral compass is defined by you, him, the child abuser, the KKK, the Nazi, me, and it's all relative, right?
I mean, I guess your argument's right. Yeah,
But you see, you can't live that out, can you?
I've been doing it, and it's working out.
No, it's only working out because I don't think you're taking it seriously, right?
I don't think that moral relativism and being an atheist is necessarily hand in hand. I think you're relating these two things together, but it's not necessarily like a true. Why are these things connected in that way?
All right, very good question. Inanimate matter has no ability to make a moral distinction between right and wrong, does it? The stone has no ability. It takes a thinking mind to say, that is right, that is wrong. If there is no mind prior to the human mind, if there is no God, then obviously it's the human mind that creates right and wrong. Which means right and wrong are defined by the human mind. Which means my mind is not better than your mind. Our minds are not better than Nazi minds. Our minds are not better than child abusers' minds. The mind defines what's right and what's wrong. So, depending upon which mind you're talking to, you'll come up with it. You'll hear a different definition of right and wrong. I'm not right. You're not wrong. You're not right. I'm not wrong. It's all relative.
Said that you believe that Jesus is the way, not because you have faith in him, but because you looked at the evidence and you came to the conclusion that, based on eyewitness testimony, that he had to be the Son of God, right? Is that what your position is? That it's not faith, it was probability and evidence that led you to that, right?
No.
Okay.
Thanks for pressing for that.
Okay. I just want to.
You bet.
Before I, present my next question, I want to make sure I don't misrepresent what you're saying, right?
If you ask me,
Yeah.
Cliff, why do you believe in Jesus? And I say, because I believe.
Right.
I find that to be scary.
Okay. Yeah. That is.
I am scared when I ask somebody, why do you believe whatever it is you believe? And they answer me, because I believe. I find that embarrassing. I find that scary.
Right.
So, whenever anybody asks me, why do you believe in Jesus Christ? I don't say because I have faith. I think that's really weak. And intellectually, I got real problems with it.
Okay.
Instead, what I say is, I believe in Jesus because the historical evidence, not proof, I've been over backwards to distance myself from the word proof. No, can't prove anything.
Right.
The historical evidence of the way he lived, taught, died, and rose from the dead point to his trustworthiness.
Okay.
That's why I have taken a step of faith. Everybody has a worldview. Meaning by that, everybody has to struggle through the question, am I worth anything or not? And that's tied to, where do I come from? Secondly, is there a purpose to my life? Or is life ultimately meaningless? Thirdly, now that I am here, how am I going to live my life ethically? Cheat, steal, lie, truth, honest? We all have to make those decisions. And fourthly, what about after death? What happens?
Okay.
None of us can prove anything, but we all have faith that whatever we're living for is reliable. So when I say faith in Christ, I mean the evidence is he's reliable, and I choose him instead of one of the options.
Okay, but those 4 things that you listed right there, what you're basically saying is that Christianity answers all those things for you?
In a way that is so intellectually satisfying, it's far superior to any other philosophy I've been exposed to.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I get that right. So, you've been telling people, right,
Yeah.
to go home and read the Bible. I don't know which translation.
Gospels. I don't care what the translation, as long as it's an accurate translation.
Okay, so King James is that's okay. You know, preferably if you had the original Aramaic, you would say that's. Was it Aramaic? Was that the
Greek.
original?
Greek Testament was written in Greek.
Okay, so but if you had that, and you, let's say you even had that, okay, and you read it,
Yeah.
but you came to the different conclusion
Yep.
that Christianity is not, it doesn't answer those questions for you. It doesn't answer what you think about the afterlife. If you say you don't really think Jesus is the guy that he says he is, right?
Yep.
Are they wrong? Or are you okay with that? Or I mean, have you, I assume you're out here to spread the word of salvation, right? You're trying to get people to think the same way you do. Is that correct?
No.
Or am I, okay.
I'm not out here to get people to think the same way I do.
But you're trying to get them to accept Jesus Christ as their Savior, right?
I'm out here to introduce people to my closest friend, Jesus Christ.
Okay, but if they go out and read the Bible and they come to a different conclusion,
Yeah.
are they wrong?
They're either right or wrong, the same way I am either right or wrong.
Okay, so it's an either-or situation. It's not shades of gray. It's not.
Well, there are shades of gray, but due to the fact that Jesus made truth claims, I either accept that as being true and reliable, or I reject it.
Okay.
Him. I reject him or I accept him. Same with Muhammad.
Right.
All religions are the same. That's a truth claim.
Okay.
And guess what? That truth claim contradicts the majority of people on this planet.
That's right. I mean, it contradicts.
Right.
But
So it means it's either right or wrong. Right?
right. I mean, well, when you say that, okay,
Yeah.
are you saying that one out of all those religions is true? I mean, I don't want to rephrase 2 questions that have already
bet.
been put forward.
Good.
Right
No,
now,
no, it's
right?
I love your thinking. All right.
Somebody
If I
already asked
say
about that.
one religion is true, that's a truth claim. If I say 5 religions are true, that's a truth claim. If I say all religions are equally true, that's a truth claim. You see, guys, unless you're simply going to say, well, here's an opinion, you're making a truth claim. I don't care if you say 1 religion is true, 5 religions are true, or all religions are true. When you make each one of those statements, you are making a truth claim,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a claim,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm confused when you say the word truth claim.
Yes.
That's assuming that the person, and I don't want to argue semantics right now, it's assuming that the person saying that actually believes that whatever they're saying is true, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's true for everyone, obviously.
Oh, no, wait a second. If a Muslim says to me, Islam is the truth, they're not just saying, for me, Islam is the truth.
No,
They're
they
saying,
actually
in
believe that,
reality.
right. I mean, it's the same people that think that the sun goes around the earth, right? There's a group in Illinois, they're called the Galileo is wrong people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They have a convention every year, and they legitimately believe that, the earth does not go around the sun, based on, they're obviously a French group, right?
Yeah.
But they're making a truth claim,
Yeah.
but it's obviously not correct, right? We
Sure,
would all
right.
agree
But if
on
I
that.
say to you 2 + 2 = 4, is that a truth claim? come on, guys. If I say 2 + 2 = 4, is that a truth claim?
Yes.
Thank you. That's a truth claim.
It's a claim.
No. It's not just a claim.
It's a claim, and we know that it's true because we can empirically prove it, right? We know every scenario where we have 2 and you add 2 more things to it, you always get 4. There's never been a situation or a scenario where we haven't gotten 4. It's never happened.
George Washington was the first president of the United States. Is that a truth claim?
Yes.
Thank you. Like it or not, guys, you make truth claims, everybody does. So now the question becomes, are you in touch with the truth or not? Obviously, Jesus Christ made an incredible claim. He claimed to be the truth. He claimed to be God in human form. He's either lying, out to lunch, blowing smoke, or else he's who he claimed to be, God in human form. He's made a truth claim. Now, here's what I am getting to resent. As I speak on university campuses, I hear this line of thinking. If you believe that Jesus is the only way to God, you are arrogant, intolerant, and prone to violence. You know why that's so dishonest?
Well, I mean, you're putting people in a box when you say that, and I mean, it's not true, right?
Thank you. Why is it not true?
That's a straw man, right?
Well, why is that not true? Yeah, but I hear that from professors, right? Debate professors, and I hear that one from a lot of professors. Like if I tell you 2 + 2 = 4, is that arrogant? No. It's a truth claim, right? Now, if you say to me 2 + 2 = 5, that's when arrogance or humility is going to be shown. That's when tolerance or intolerance are going to be shown. It's when you and I have a disagreement, whatever the disagreement's about. That's when we're either going to see tolerance and humility, or we're going to see arrogance and intolerance. But to make a truth claim, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Muhammad is the truth. The avatars of Hinduism are the truth. It's not arrogance, it's not intolerance. It doesn't mean you're prone to violence. It means you're making a truth claim. Now, how you respond to people who disagree with you, that'll display whether you're an arrogant twit, an intolerant twit, and prone to violence. Fair enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is you're making a truth claim, right?
Correct.
Hindus are making a truth claim.
Right.
Right. Muslims are making a truth claim.
Right.
And what they believe what they're saying is actually true, right?
Atheists are making a truth claim. Agnostics are making a truth claim.
I don't know about atheists are making a truth
Oh, come
claim.
on.
They're making
An atheist is saying, I know the universe so well, I know there is no God. If that ain't a truth claim, I don't know what is.
No. Then it depends on what your definition of an atheist is, right?
Just look it up. An atheist is someone who says, I know there is no God. An agnostic is someone who says, I'm not sure, I don't know. So if you're a hard atheist, you're saying, I know there is no God. If you're an agnostic, you're saying, I don't know.
Okay, I'll agree with those definitions. If you want to go down that route, that's fine. I mean, most people, technically you're supposed to categorize atheists as agnostic atheists or Gnostic atheists, starting with a G, G-N-O-S-T, right? Gnostic atheists are the ones that say, I know there is no God. And that is an unscientific position to have, right? Because I can't go around proving people wrong. I'm sure you've already gotten 18 questions on this, right? I can't go around proving that God doesn't exist, right?
Good.
It just means that, like you said, you put out what you think is a truth claim. I've looked at that and I've said, it hasn't satisfied me. I'm not convinced.
Yep.
And we can both go our separate ways and we're fine, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we're all right. You can't put everybody in a box.
Right.
Not everybody thinks the same way.
Right.
And I think you've done a good job saying that, right? But
hope so.
yeah. I mean, I guess my central question was, last semester we had those Hindu monks that were walking around. They were giving out the Bhagavad Gitas.
Good.
Okay. And they believed what they were saying was true. And I guess
yes. And I respect them.
Well, I mean, you're saying that if you accept Jesus, you will eventually get to salvation, right?
If you accept Jesus, he promises you'll go to heaven.
Right.
Yep.
I'm not so well versed in Hinduism, but I can assume that along the way to Nirvana, that's Buddhism, sorry.
No, it's both. Hinduism and Buddhism are, you're headed toward, hopefully
right?
you're going to Nirvana.
If you go along the right path, what is the 8 steps or whatever it is, right, you will achieve enlightenment and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that's their version of salvation.
Right.
So it is possible then that both truth claims can be right and both people can reach salvation?
No, because they contradict each other. I'm either here or not here.
So you look at both.
I'm not both here and not here.
So you're looking at both truth claims, and you're saying that me, Cliff, I'm saying that my Christian one is correct.
No, I'm saying the evidence is that Jesus Christ is reliable in a way that none of the options are.
Okay.
Don't take it from me. Read the Quran, read the Vedas and Upanishads, read the Gospels, and ask yourself, what does the evidence point to? If you're a searcher after truth, if you want to live in reality, you owe it to yourself as a thinking human being to seriously explore the options that you think are good options. All I'm doing here is standing here saying, Jesus Christ is a great option. I can't prove him. The evidence is he's reliable. You got to check him out. Read the Gospels for yourself. Don't take it from me. As a thinking human being, go to the source document, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, read it for yourself.
Okay, so as a final point, this is my final.
I'm sorry to hear that. I like talking with you.
Oh no, well, we can keep going if you want. I mean,
I'd love to.
I'm afraid we will go in circles, but I mean, your conclusion is that the Christian truth claim is more correct than the Hindu one that I just stated.
Correct.
Because there's more evidence to support your position. Okay.
To support Jesus
I just want to
Christ.
make sure, that was actually my first question, was that's what you're saying. Jesus is the way because there's more evidence that points to him.
Everything in my worldview is based on Jesus Christ, which means I better study and figure out, is Jesus reliable or is he not? Because if the evidence is Jesus Christ is not reliable, I'm an idiot for believing in him. But if the evidence is Jesus is reliable, I'm an idiot for not believing in him. So I better check him out
Okay, well,
very carefully.
what about all the biblical scholars like Bart Ehrman? I can't remember a second guy. Okay, so you've heard of him, right?
Not only have I heard about Bart, I've debated him.
Oh, you okay? Even better.
Had dinner with a guy.
Okay. And I read his book.
Yeah.
I used to be a Mormon, and so I was very religious. I don't want to get into a personal story with me anyway, but
It's all right.
I fell out of it. And I mean, the same principles that I used to get out of Mormonism, where I was looking at, the history of Joseph Smith, and he was obviously a fraud, right? We know he was. Sorry, Mormons that are out there. You got to go. We know he is, right? Probably was.
I can't believe you're saying it, but I'm very excited you're saying it.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, so
You're
you agree.
right.
I mean, using
Joseph
just,
Smith was
just
out of
looking
touch
at,
with reality.
Just looking at, I mean, down there, Church of Scientology. I just recently read a book called Going Clear.
Yeah.
All about L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was such a charlatan.
Thank
right?
you. You're right.
And you.
You said it, not me, though.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, they'll probably
So
sue
thank
me.
you.
They'll probably sue me, but that's okay. But I mean.
They better not.
But using the same principles of logic and reason, and Joseph Smith said some crazy ass. Can I say that? Sorry, I can't say that. He said some
I wouldn't
crazy
say it
stuff.
that way, but I agree with you.
Well, he did, right?
He did.
He definitely did.
Holy, the guy was incredible.
And what's even better is that I believed them for 15 years. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Right. So, I had to believe that horses lived in North America for 15 years before Columbus got here. There was elephants and everything. It's crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But when you look at the evidence, the history of the church and whatnot, and the same thing goes with Scientologists.
Yep.
They become disillusioned.
Yes.
And when I apply those same principles to Christianity, because I really did go searching after I lost my faith.
Yeah.
And I came to the same conclusion that it's in order for me to be satisfied, I need to have. I know you don't like the word proof, but beyond reasonable doubt, evidence to support a claim, right? And Bart Ehrman, some other biblical scholars that look at the history of the Bible and the way it's written, a lot of them come to the conclusions that Jesus most likely existed, right? I agree with that. All the evidence points to that. But there's just so much afterwards manipulation, a lot of mistranslations going on. I'm sure you're more well versed in this than me because you study the Bible, right? History of it. Matthew, Mark, Q document, whatnot.
Yep.
But when you look at all that stuff, I just say there's way too many things that we don't understand, not enough evidence to support the claim, and that's enough, right?
It seems to me that what I hear from you is, you didn't say preponderance of evidence. You said
Beyond reasonable doubt.
that's it, beyond reasonable doubt. Okay.
Like 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean, right? Every scenario, we've never had a case where 2 plus 2 equals 5.
Okay,
You
good.
can't even fathom it.
Do you
right?
need that kind of evidence before you can make a decision?
You know, you start talking about error tolerances and, you know, what is good enough for me to believe it. Yeah, I mean,
Then you'll never get married.
it's got to be.
You can't go to sleep tonight if you have a roommate. Because there is no way that you have 2 plus 2 equals 4 type of certainty that that roommate's not going to stick a knife in your back as you lie asleep on your bed. You can't drive a car because you do not have 2 plus 2 equals 4 type of certainty that the guy coming towards the red light when you go through and it's green is going to stop. You don't know he's not going to run that red light and send you to an early grave. You guys are making a fundamental mistake. You're thinking that in order to know something, you have to have such a preponderance of evidence, basically proof, in order to believe it. You can't live that way. And that's why I talk with Bart about his marriage, about his parenting. You can't live your life demanding such an incredibly stringent level of evidence before you trust. You'll be a very lonely, very isolated person. Now, you better not be a gullible fool and just blindly trust. You better demand evidence that someone's not going to rip you off. And sir, if someone only wants to be your friend because you got money, watch out. You better find some people that really care about you, right?
Yeah, okay.
And you better not have some incredible standard of 2 plus 2 equals 4, and if you don't meet it, you're not going to be my friend. I mean, come on, you can't live your life that way, guys. Right? And that's the mistake Bart is making. Are there thousands of manuscript variants? Yes, there are. But we don't have the original manuscripts, Bart. We all know that. But we have such a plethora of Greek manuscripts of the New Testament that we have an amazingly high degree of certainty that we really have was written. So if you're going to push this inerrancy issue and laugh at Christians who believe the Bible's the inerrant word of God, knowing full well that there are thousands of manuscripts and thousands of manuscript variations. Come on, buddy, you're playing a silly game. You can't live your life that way. It doesn't work. You see, and what that, my real problem is, and I didn't unload this on him, but you're either being inconsistent or you're being a hypocrite, an intellectual hypocrite. Because you're saying, there's not enough evidence for me to believe in Christ, but then you're going out and living for something that doesn't have anywhere near the evidence that Christ has, and you're trusting it. Like all my wonderful friends who say, stock portfolio, Wall Street, that's where it's at, man. And let's make no mistake, they get up at 4:30 in the morning, they get home at 8:30 at night, and they make a ton of money. And that's the bottom line. Please give me your overwhelming evidence that the ultimate purpose of life is to make money. Give me a break. People have faith, incredible faith, in the American dream. Make money. It's a worldview, sir. Watch out.
I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir, so much for this.